Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Psychically Speaking. If you're a regular listener, thank you for being such an important part of this journey with me. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here. This is the podcast where intuition meets real life truth with just the right dash of sass. I'm your host, Lisa Ann. Together, we'll explore, learn, and grow through meaningful moments and fresh perspectives. Today we're diving into something really important: who you trust with your spiritual health. Whether it's a TikTok tarot reader, a YouTube astrologer, or even someone you meet in person who's offering psychic readings or healing sessions, not everyone has the training, the ethics, or quite frankly, the energy to guide you safely. And let's be real. You wouldn't just let anyone perform brain surgery on you, right? Your spiritual health deserves the same level of care and discernment. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the red flags you need to watch for, the green flags that signal a trustworthy guide, and my 4-point discernment checklist that will help you to know who you can really trust. We're living in a time of spiritual overflow. Everywhere you look, there's another TikTok reader, an Instagram astrologer, a psychic booth at an expo, or a weekend certified healer offering services. On one hand, it's truly wonderful to see spirituality becoming more accessible and visible. But on the other hand, when guidance comes from the wrong person, it can derail your growth, create unnecessary fear, or leave you dependent on someone else instead of empowered in your own journey. Just like your physical health, your spiritual health touches every part of your life: your mindset, your choices, your energy, and your relationships. That's why discernment matters now more than ever. Now, let me be clear. Yes, we have all had to start somewhere. Every healer, every psychic, every teacher, including myself, was once new. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner, and many beginners are honest about where they're at. They may practice for free or charge just enough to cover their time while they build their confidence and skills. But the problem comes when people with little to no experience present themselves as experts. They throw on a title, open a shop, start charging these insane prices, and sometimes there is no real foundation behind their work. And unfortunately, some of them are not only inexperienced, but they also take advantage of people who are genuinely seeking help. This is where things get dangerous. Online, you'll see fear-based messages like, "You're cursed," or "Something bad will happen if you don't follow my advice." In person, you might run into a psychic who insists they're the only one who can help you, or a healer who uses pressure and manipulation to keep you coming back. These situations can create anxiety, drain your energy, or push you into spending money on things you don't actually need. And worst of all, they can make you lose trust in your own intuition, handing your power over to someone else instead of strengthening it within yourself. And let me tell you, this isn't just theory. Years ago, someone actually tried to convince me that I had a curse on me. They wanted me to believe that unless I paid them for some kind of cleansing, I'd be stuck carrying this darkness forever. Imagine if I had bought into that. If I hadn't known better, that fear could have taken root in my mind and changed the way I saw myself, my choices, and even my future. Now, I was practicing meditation and doing readings and healing at this time. And in fact, I had my first mentor that I was very close to. And I was going through a very difficult and stressful time in my life. And I had this woman who I had met, a friend had taken me to her months and months before for a class. And I never went back because I just did not get a good feeling from her. There were some things I witnessed in her class that I thought were very manipulative and very inauthentic, so I never returned. Well, months had gone by, and this person started leaving me messages on my voicemail that I needed to call her immediately. And of course I didn't, because I never got a good feeling from her the first time I met her. Well, then the messages started getting a little more serious, and she said that someone had a curse on me. And that's why I was having all the problems I was having in my life, and that I really needed to call her and that she could help me. And of course I didn't. And then one day she called from a different number, and I picked up the phone, and she informed me that I had a curse on me, and that is why I was going through this difficult time in my life. Now, of course, I didn't believe in any of this, but the weird thing about it was she knew very detailed things about my life. In fact, she knew things that only very few people knew. And not only that, but she told me that these things had come to her in a dream. And then she went so far as to describe a psychic that I had went to for a reading months before. She even described the jewelry that the psychic was wearing. Now, when I got off the phone with her, I was mad, but I was also fearful, and I was confused. And I called a friend of mine and I said, you know that I do not believe in this nonsense, but how could this person know such details about my life? Everything in my intuition told me there was something wrong about this, but my analytical mind kept going back to these details, these specific details that so few people knew. Well, needless to say, I never called her back and paid her hundreds of dollars for her little cleansing bath ritual that I needed to get rid of my curse. And it wasn't until months later where the whole story would come back to make sense. Out of nowhere, I had a friend call me. This was the same friend who had introduced me to this woman in the first place. And in fact, this woman was also very close with my own personal healing mentor. She had actually introduced me to him as well. She was calling to tell me that she had been feeling very guilty about something and she needed to come clean about it. Apparently, she continued going to classes with this, I'll just say, crazy woman. And somewhere in their conversation, this crazy woman asked my friend to introduce her to my healing mentor. And in talking with my healing mentor, she was somehow able to get all of my personal information. But it got even better than that. Because not only had she been talking to my healing mentor, pretending to help him and help me, and that's how he gave her the information, but she also was very friendly with the psychic that I had been to for a reading months and months before. In fact, they were trying to open up their own little local shop, and that's how she was able to describe the woman, know everything about my visit with her, including the jewelry that the psychic was wearing the day that I saw her. I cannot even explain to you how I felt that day. There was a part of me that was so proud of myself for sticking to my gut instinct about this crazy woman, for not allowing my fear to take over, because let me tell you, it would have been very easy with everything that I had going on to go, yep, you know what? Even if I don't believe in curses, I'm going to try anything I can to make my life better. let me do anything that might help. But I didn't, because my intuition, my spidey senses, as I like to call them, told me something was very wrong here. And even though my analytical mind was battling it out with me, arguing with me, how could she know these details? I didn't have an answer for that. But at the end of the day, I always have to trust my intuition. And that's exactly how people use fear to control others. They plant doubt and then offer themselves as the only solution. It's manipulation, plain and simple, and it has no place in true spiritual guidance. That experience taught me just how powerful words are and how dangerous it is when they're used without integrity. Now, here's the way I like to frame it. If you need brain surgery, would you stop at the gas station, tap the clerk on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you look like you could handle this"? Of course not. You'd look for someone who was trained, experienced, ethical, and trustworthy. You would talk to other people that had the same procedure. You would get lots of recommendations. And guess what? Your spiritual health deserves the same level of respect. Who you allow into your energetic space is every bit as important as who you allow to work on your physical body. That's why I created what I call my 4-Point Discernment Checklist. It's something you can use anytime you're deciding who to work with, whether online or in person. First, experience. Does this person have years of training, practice, or a solid foundation? Or did they just take a weekend course and start charging? I always tell my clients, Google, Google, Google. The one thing about the internet is it is very hard to erase your past. I can tell you I have lots of really bad hairdo pictures out there from the late 90s. You cannot get rid of stuff. So if somebody has really been around for as long as they're pretending to be, you're going to see all random things that come up when you Google their name or their business. So do your research. Do they have the experience? Second, energy. And I think this is even more important. Pay attention to how you feel after connecting with them. Do you feel lighter, clearer, and empowered? Or do you feel scared, confused, and drained? I tell my clients all the time to always trust their intuition. Whoever you work with should make you feel lighter, not heavier. And you know what? Not everybody is the right person for everybody else. You may have a friend or someone that tells you how great someone is, and then when you meet them, you're just not getting that same feeling. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to the energy and how you feel after connecting with them. Because that person might be right for someone else, and maybe they're just not the right person for you. Third, ethics. Do they respect your boundaries and guide responsibly? Or do they manipulate, pressure, or make wild predictions? I couldn't sleep one night, and I started doing that scrolling thing on one of the social media platforms. I could not even believe the nonsense that is there at 3 a.m. People just throwing out random things. Oh, if someone just broke up with you, this is a message for you. Yeah, millions of people are seeing this message. So hundreds of thousands of people out of those millions of people probably just had a breakup. And all these people are commenting, "Oh yes, you're speaking to me." It is so mind-blowing to me how easily people can be manipulated. So pay attention. And fourth, evidence. Does what they share actually resonate with your own inner knowing? Or does it feel forced, confusing, or just off? Now, let's talk about the green flags, the signs that you found a trustworthy guide. A good teacher or healer empowers you to make your own choices. They remind you that you are the authority in your life. They'll share tools you can continue to use on your own, and they will never pressure you into fear-based spending or make you dependent on them. I cannot tell you how important this is. And most importantly, they walk their talk. Their authenticity shows in the way that they live their own life. The truth is, real guidance should make you feel stronger, not weaker. Online resources can be fun and inspiring, but they're never a replacement for your own inner wisdom. The same goes for your in-person teachers and healers. Choose those who nurture your growth and encourage you to stand in your own power. At the end of the day, your intuition is the best compass you will ever have. The right guide will always support it and never try to silence it. So remember, spirituality is one of the most personal journeys you'll ever take, and not everyone who offers guidance is meant to be your guide. Protect your energy by being discerning, both online and in person. Remember my 4-point discernment checklist: experience, energy, ethics, and evidence. And above all, trust your own inner knowing. It will never lead you astray. The right teacher or healer will always help you strengthen that inner voice and never take it away. Thank you for joining me today on Psychically Speaking. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. And remember to join me for my free weekly Psychically Speaking Live held via Zoom. For more information, visit spiritquestnc.com. Until next time, take care of yourself, embrace your light, trust your intuition, and keep growing.